today we're going to talk about the OCG metagame. I'm actually going to be releasing a video talking about Bursts of Destiny eventually, but one of the archetypes that's coming out is the Xiang Jian archetype. It's an archetype that have a mechanic built in that we have never seen before, and that is basically making tuners or making tokens that are tuners, which is super sick, right? They do have restrictions where basically you cannot go into link monsters, so it prevents Helki Fibrax abuse. But that's still really exciting. The fact that this archetype is now able to introduce a new mechanic to the game, making tokens that are tuners, like what the heck? So let's see what Burst of Destiny has done for the OCG, and see if we can take anything away from that back to the TCG, right? So in the metagame report, we see that they make 15% of the metagame since Burst of Destiny has been released, which is pretty interesting, right? Like, I think this archetype was something that we weren't sure, but I think if the OCG has showed us anything, is that Token Collector is now going to be a side deck staple again. I'm actually really hyped for this archetype, and we can actually go through some of the cards after we review the metagame report, but we see that Xian Jian made 15% of the metagame, 13% for Prank Kids, 11.7% for Virtual World. Dytron still in the metagame. We have Elich, Flunderies, which, a lot of people put a lot of hype on. I did myself. I'm not sure why they're so super low in representation, but still up there. Orcus is on there, Shadal's, Tri-Brigade, and like a lot of rogue decks. So 27% rogue. So these are all the decks, and now we're gonna go into some of the deck lists. So first, we're gonna see their version of the deck, and this is basically like the pure version without Tenyis. So basically, this guy is maxing out on all the Jiang Jian cards. He's playing a bunch of hand traps, like Max C, Ash Blossom, the Gamma. He still plays the driver package, the one Nibiru. The odd ratios are mainly for cross out. He's playing the Ing archetype spell. So basically, this is like a pure version of the deck, and it seems that the deck did really, really well. Let's look at some of the extra deck cards. So I'm actually not familiar with this card, but they're playing. They're playing only one rank 8 package, or one rank 8 package, which is basically like the OTK version. That's kind of interesting. They're playing Baxia, which is super sweet. They're also playing the Synchro 8 in the archetype. They play Dragite. They play Colossus. So a lot of you guys might be wondering, why are they playing Colossus in like their extra deck? And the main reason is, like, what does OG have that like TCG don't? And that's Max C. So basically, if you make Colossus, you can basically crash it and make your opponent draw infinite times, and they deck out and die. So that's why you play this card, basically to punish Max C. You have Crimson Blader, which is super sick to see that card back in the metagame. I mean, not being able to summon level 5 or higher monsters is really strong, and I assume it's probably hella crazy in the mirror match as well, right? Not being able to access any of your synchro strategy. With Omega, of course. We have Baroness. That card is super crazy. We've seen that card and what it's capable of. And of course, we have this also another in archetype synchro monster. So it seems like a pretty standard, like basically pure version of the deck. I wonder if this deck can be optimized on, because this is like basically one of the first tournaments where this deck was legal. So we see that people are just basically kind of putting in the archetype in its purest form, and then just chugging in hand traps and throwing in hand traps on it. Like literally, they have a trap card right here that's literally an in archetype Icarus attack, which is if we've seen anything from Salamangreat Rage, having a searchable Rage is very, very strong. Let's see the side deck spice. Nothing too crazy. Basically, Sanctum to lock out your opponent. Lancia to basically stop Virtual World as well. Nibiru, the second Nibiru, basically for Virtual World. I'm assuming you have one Meister, one Pank, Storms, and Duster for the trap deck, so it makes sense. I think Prank Kid is relatively the same deck. Infinite hand traps, engine cards. They're still playing Gamma, even though like Gamma went to 2 in the OCG. Double Poly, they're playing the Thunder Dragon Fusion package, which is always interesting. Never really been a big fan of it, but I guess OCG is doing something different that we're not. Side deck is relatively the same, like pretty standard for like their metagame. Not much to say here. Virtual seems pretty standard too. This is literally like the same list they've been using for like ages now. Literally, like, they hit VFD to 1 and look what happened. Nothing changed for the deck, man. So Jesus, God, VFD. That's a big Monka W, man. Like that card is so oppressive. They're literally also playing. Are they playing Beatrice? How are they getting Zombie World? I don't know. They're playing 2 Zombie World for some reason. I guess it's really good into like this deck too because it makes all their monsters not worms. I guess, which may be kind of nice. So that's pretty much it for the metagame. But if you let's review some of the cards in the archetype. Okay, so okay, I should not be on this. This okay. All right, guys, let's review some of the cards in the archetype. If you guys are not familiar with these, let's take these out because we saw some of these artwork in the deck profile from the OCG, but let's read through these cards. So I think we're gonna start off with like some of the best starters in the deck, and it's basically Tai A. So Tai A says you can banish a Xingjiang card from or a worm monster from your graveyard and you summon a token. The token, like I said before, it's a worm, it's a tuner, it's a water. If you're locked from the extra deck, except synchro monsters while that token is on the field. And if it's sent to the graveyard synchro material, you can send a Xingjiang card or a worm monster from your deck to the graveyard. So it's basically Gazelle when you link it off. And then you have Mo Ye. This is the best card in the deck, mainly because all you have to do is reveal a Xingjiang card or a worm monster in the hand. You get a free token, and when you use this monster as a synchro material, you get to draw a free card. So that's pretty strong. You have Jun, the Auspicious Beast. I don't think this card really sees play, but it is searchable. But basically, before damage calc, if your worm monster battles an opponent's special summon monster from the extra deck, you can destroy both of them. During the main phase, it's a quick effect which allows you to tribute a monster. Special summon this card from the hand, and if this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material, you can target one card on the field in either place graveyard and banish it. You have Long Yun. This card is very powerful. It's basically like a Karis. You can discard any other Xingjiang card or worm monster from the hand to summon this card, and then you can. This all happens. Technically, it's not at once, but so if your opponent has Winda, you would summon this card and not be able to summon a token, because it says then. So it's like two different summons, and if you do, you can also summon monster from the extra deck. So yeah, it summons itself and make a token. And then this card is sent to the graveyard as synchro material. You can burn your opponent for 1200 and win in time. This one is basically a Rhoda for the deck, which is pretty neat. And if this card is banished, you can reduce or increase levels of worm monsters you control. Next, you have the Grand Spiritual Peak. Basically, it's a pseudo monster reborn for the archetype. That's essentially what it is. Then you have the Sudden Shift. This card is the Icarus attack of the archetype. And this card basically targets a worm monster you control. It destroys it, and two cards your opponent controls destroys them. Just like a quick ruling thing for you to know is because it says destroy them. Them implies one or more, which means even if the target is no longer on the field when this card is attempting to resolve, it will still destroy the card it targets. So like for example, a good example would be like if I go Xingjiang, target my swordsman and target two cards, like two back row, and my opponent chains like torrential tribute, destroying my Mo Ye or something. Like it would still resolve to pop the two back row. If this card is banished, it can summon a token for free. Wow, this card is like super insane. You probably max out on this for sure. So that's pretty much that. And then let's look at some of their extra deck cards, because you're probably wondering like how do you search like the trap card? And so the card that searches it is basically Qi Xiao. What this card does is when it's synchro summoned, it basically stratoses or banishes a Xingjiang card from your deck. So you can basically search the Sudden Shift, and it's as a quick effect where you can banish a Xingjiang card or one monster from your hand or graveyard to target one other effect monster in the field and negate it. So a pseudo hot red. Also, I forgot to read this card, but this card I don't think it's gonna be that played. It basically targets the face of monster you control. It banishes them and gives it like 300 attack. You can do it during the damage step, which is kind of cool. And then if this card is banished, you get to make a token. I don't think you're gonna play this card. And then you have Chen Ying. Yeah, so yeah, this card is basically because this card is a trigger, and like cards like Mo Ye is a trigger. You can like go Chainlink 1 Qi Xiao and Chainlink 2 Mo Ye to draw a card, which allows you to basically chain block this, so you always resolve your search to get access to like your Icarus attack, which is a really good point that my Twitch chat made. And then you have Chen Ying. So what this card does is this card actually gets relatively big. It gains 100 attack and defense for each banish cards, including your opponent's banish card. So if your opponent activates Desires, this card just starts at 4,000 set line, and then your opponent loses 100 attack for every banish card. So, like you can probably OTK with this card relatively easy, and its protection effect is similar to that of Colossus, where it would be destroyed by card effect. You can banish one card from your graveyard, like said, and that's like continuous effect. That's not like it's not a once per turn or anything like that. So that's really really strong. And if a card is banished, except during the damage step, so similar to like Titan in this instance, you can banish one card each from your opponent's field and graveyard. So yeah, this is pretty sick, where you can like basically trish your opponent. And then the last card is the new Ecclesia. So this new Ecclesia is basically a Lone Fire Blossom, for the archetype. So let's read what this card says. So if your opponent controls more monster than you do, you can special summon this card from your hand. So it's like an Adamantipator Analyzer. Be able to summon from the hand for free. You can only special summon her once per turn this way. And then it has an on-field quick effect, which is really neat because unlike Lone Fire, which is Ignition, Ecclesia being a quick effect allows you to just like play through Veiler really well. So you can, quick effect, tag this out, or tribute it for cost to summon a Xingqian monster or Fallen Albaz from the hand or deck, which is very, very powerful. And during the end phase, if the fusion monster was sent to your graveyard this turn, you can add this card back from your graveyard to your hand. So if you have cards like Instant Fusion, which puts a fusion monster to the graveyard when you like synchro with it or like link it off, that allows you to also add this card back from your hand for free. It's also a tuner, so that's kind of neat. But those are like the cards in the archetype. I mean, you see that in the OCG, they're literally just playing engine cards, like straight up, strictly just engine cards. Slap a couple hand traps on there, and just clapping the metagame, right? So I find that kind of dope that they're able to like do like really well in the OCG. So I wonder how they will fan in the TCG. But I hope you guys enjoyed this like just review of the OCG meta and what it means for us in the TCG. And I hope you guys are excited for Burst of Destiny, because I am too. Like, I'm excited for new archetypes. I'm excited for like new strategies and like more deck building. So I hope if you guys enjoyed this little, just a little slimmer of knowledge, then please comment, like, and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts on the archetype, whether you're excited for it or not. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.